Good evening and welcome to Views with Joyce Waddell. I want to thank you for joining us this evening. We have a very interesting show for you. We're going to be talking with Alan Davis. He's Vice President of the Charlotte Folk Society, and they're doing great work here in Charlotte. Excellent things, bringing lots of interesting programs to the Great Aunt Stella Center, as well as throughout the Charlotte area. And often we thought about folk music as a dying kind of music, but not so. It's very much alive and well in Charlotte, and very visible. Many people play on the streets. Many people play at festivals, farmers markets, in churches. So it's doing quite well here. It's busy, it's interesting, and highly sought after. And so Alan is going to share with us some of the instruments that they play as a group. He's going to also share with us how the Folk Society is really making its mark here in Charlotte. And he's at the forefront of it, making his mark as well. Welcome, Alan.
Thanks, Joyce. It's great to be here.
Now, your favorite instrument is the
accordion. Well,
accordion.
It depends on the circumstance. Sometimes I like the fiddle, sometimes the accordion, and then sometimes I go back to the old harmonica.
But the accordion is the oldest. It came before the piano, didn't it?
No, actually, accordions started production back in the 1800s. And pianos go back further than that.
And it's still as popular today as it was in the 1800s among certain groups of people.
That's right. If you go to places in Europe, they're still pulling out accordions and playing some old tunes and actually some classical tunes. Believe it or not, there are accordionists that play classical music.
What about hip hop? You know, hip hop seems to be so popular here in the United States, and even in Charlotte. Do you can play hip hop on that?
I'd give it a try. A lot of the folks in Louisiana, they play a Louisiana style accordion, which is very, very bluesy and very good. Some of it's more Cajun and some of it's more Zydeco, but I think that would lend itself very well to hip hop.
Now, do you play that kind that they play in Louisiana, the blues style?
I know a few pieces that they would play in Louisiana.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Would you play one?
Okay. I can't sing it because this is it's in French. It's called Jolie Blonde, and I'm sure everybody's probably heard of that. But I can do Jolie Blonde.
Oh, okay. And that's quite different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit different, and it's kind of bluesy,
But that's not the one that you're famous for.
Well, assuming that I was famous, no.
Now, what brought you to Charlotte? You're from Oklahoma, which is such a different place, such a far away place.
Yeah, it's pretty far, but if you go from Charlotte straight west 1,000 miles, you'd be right in the Oklahoma City metro area. So it's almost the same as far as latitude goes, but it's a lot windier out there and a lot flatter, and you get more disturbed air, tornadoes and things like that. But Charlotte had a job offer for me, and so I came over here and worked in Charlotte, and up until I retired. And then I retired about 5 years ago.
Now, was the job already here in Charlotte? The job was in Oklahoma and moved to Charlotte.
No, it was actually a new job, and it was here in Charlotte. So, like thousands of other people, I migrated to Charlotte.
Well, I'm hearing that about 1,000 people a month come to Charlotte.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's because of jobs, the same reason that you came to Charlotte,
Right.
because of a job. And so you were gainfully employed here for a long time.
That's right.
Okay, now, and then you joined the Folk Society after you arrived.
That's right. I was heard about some jam session going on, and so I went down and attended that. And then some people told me about the Folk Society, and that sounded like a great deal, so I joined.
Now, because someone who, if you don't play an instrument and you don't sing, but you have an interest and you want to be a part of the Folk Society, do you take people in like that?
Oh, sure, yeah. Anybody is welcome, and we'd love to have new members. It's about, the dues vary. There's family memberships that are like $30 to $40, and individual memberships that are less than that, and student memberships as well.
So anybody that wants to become a member of the Folk Society, they just come and they have an interest in what you're doing. Do you teach them? Do they learn instruments then? Or what value is it to them? Are they valuable to your society if they don't play instruments or don't sing?
Well, we have both jam sessions, and then we've got what we call slow jam sessions. And slow jam sessions are for people that are just learning to play with other people. You know, there's so many people out there that are in their homes, and they just would like to get out and play with somebody. In fact, music is meant to be shared. So we have slow jam sessions that move people in gradually, and then when they're ready, then they go on to the regular jam sessions that we have.
And so if they are not musicians, they can do something else. They can be of support, I imagine. I don't know what.
Well, it's always good to have people listening. You don't like to be playing to an empty room.
And you say music is to be shared, and that's the value of music, the value of the language, the universal language of music, because you're sharing with other people, and it's bringing people together from all walks of life. And not only that, it's a way of communicating among groups, so, as well as the larger society.
Yeah.
So you're going to play another song?
Yeah, this song is by an Irishman named Kevin Sheeran, and it's called In My Father's House, and it reminds me, and it probably would remind you, where you grew up, how simple things were back then, and so it's kind of a nostalgic song.
Okay.
The gable wall is all that is left now. The old thatched cottage is fallen down. I dry my eyes as I fondly remember days of long ago when I was young in my father's house. My father's house. No TV, but music there was plenty of. My mother'd hum those melodies and we'd all sing along in my father's house when I was young. Comes the time when I am older, my own children are reared and gone. I wonder then, do they fondly remember days of long ago when they were young? My father's house, his smile would greet you at the door. Friendly word, weary travelers there was welcome for. Nighttime neighbors rambled in, might stay till 12 or 1 in my father's house when I was young. The years have passed and I'm older. The rambling house is almost gone, but still I hear the laughter of children, just like long ago when I was young. In my father's house, in my father's house, his smile would greet you at the door. No TV, but good times we were welcome for. And my mother hummed those melodies and we all sang along in my father's house when I was young. In my father's house when I was young.
Is that one that you wrote?
No, actually, Kevin Sheeran wrote it, I think, about 30 years ago. Yeah, and he's an Irish musician. There's a modern day musician who's very popular right now named Ed Sheeran, and I don't know if he had any link to this other person that wrote it. It might be related somehow.
So how do you remember all of these songs and the history behind them? I'm sure it takes a lot of research for you to do that, doesn't it?
Well, when I was in grade school, we had to actually memorize things. And what I would do is I would go through it, and then I would go through it and repeat it. And then eventually I see a pattern to it. You know, I go, okay, this is the first verse, and that's about this, and this is the second verse, and that's about this. And then you get it in place, and then you repeat it a number of times, and then it becomes almost automatic.
So, and that's how you learn all of these songs that you sing, and the history behind them.
That's right, right. You have to.
You must know about 100 songs, then, don't you?
I know of some people that know 100 songs, but I don't think I know 100 songs.
Now, you were going to show us something on the fiddle, weren't you?
Well, I can show you something on the fiddle. If would you like to play the Lumberjack while I play the fiddle?
Yes, I'll do that.
Okay. I'll just put this over there.
Okay.
And
that's very valuable and very expensive, isn't it? Audience, we'll continue to talk with Alan Davis as he talks about the folk society and talks about folk music and how folk music is really a dying kind of music, but coming back, making its comeback. When I say it's a dying music, he always corrects me and tells me not really, that it's alive and well and just as alive as it was back then. So I'm going to play the Lumberjack, something I've never done. Where's the little board that goes with the Lumberjack?
oh, I put it over there.
Okay, I'll go get the board.
If you unzip the top there, it's just inside the top. Yeah, just reach inside there. It's down in there. And
You play by music.
Sometimes, yeah, yeah.
I play the lumberjack. I'm sorry.
Okay, okay. And this is an old, this is an Irish reel. All right, you did quite well with that. I mean, you've never played a lumberjack before in your life. And
I've never played a lumberjack before in my life, and so maybe what I have to do is to start traveling with you.
we'll go on the road together.
And while you're playing the fiddle, I will be playing the lumberjack.
That'd be great.
Is that a difficult instrument?
Well, it's really the most challenging.
It's like a violin, isn't it?
It is a violin. A fiddle is kind of a nickname for it, but there's really no difference between this and a violin. And
it's very difficult, isn't it?
yeah, it was developed by the Italians a long time ago, and then it spread throughout the world. People now play the fiddle in China and Australia and everywhere you go. But if you're going to learn it, believe me, start when you're young. It's like learning a foreign language. It's like so much easier for young kids than it is for adults, because you got to get your fingers just right, you know.
Adults have tried to learn it, haven't they?
Some have tried, some have succeeded, some have given it up. Kind of like mountain climbing. It's kind of a steep learning curve.
So, but it's the same as the violin.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You can play anything in any symphony.
And it has the scales just as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, why is it so difficult?
Well, have you ever seen Jack Benny? He was a violinist a long time ago. He was a comedian. Mm-hmm. And he would sort of make every mistake that a fiddle player would make, you know. Because, like, just putting that finger on that string and getting it just right is kind of tricky. And then the bow itself is like, you know, getting it to touch the string just right. You want to try it?
Well, why is it that some people can teach it to themselves?
Some people are lucky, I guess.
Oh, it's very light.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
And then, yeah.
I've seen I've seen young people pick this up and learn it. And learn to do kind of like hip hop sounds. Just by, I guess, self-taught.
Yeah, if you get used to the sounds that you make. And then pretty soon, it's almost like your voice. You learn to imitate other sounds, you know.
That's what people do with the piano as well. Where's your harmonica?
Well, I put it back over there.
I'll go get it. That's what people do with other sounds, isn't it? Until they finally perfect it.
Absolutely.
You have to have a love and a desire to want to do it and to practice it.
Yeah, there was a famous fiddle player in Florida, and he said the way he learned was he imagined that he was a great fiddle player, and he just kept imagining as he played at home, And then after a while, people started asking him to come out and play for them. So part of it is you have to imagine what you want to sound like, and then you strive towards that sound.
You have to have an ear for it.
It can help. It can help. Some people develop an ear, I think. If not, they can always enjoy listening to other people.
But you know, if a kid came to your house and saw that, the first thing they would want to do is start playing it.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Because it's fascinating, and they just want to hear what kind of sounds it can make.
Yeah. There's a famous fiddler named Mark O'Connor, and he has a school of fiddle teaching. In fact, he lives now just outside of Charlotte, and it's the Mark O'Connor method. And basically, you start with simple folk melodies. Something that every child might know. And then after a few years, that child is, playing in a school orchestra or playing at a festival.
Audience, we're continuing to talk with Alan Davis. Alan is the Vice President of the Charlotte Folk Society. Charlotte Folk Society has many, many members, and it's growing. And they play free. They perform free at the Great Aunt Stella Center. And they've been doing that for many years. The sounds that they play and the events that they play for, people jam and they crowd outside waiting to get in. And yet there are many people that don't even know about the Folk Society and the things that they do. But it's growing, and growing by leaps and bounds in Charlotte. You're there on Friday nights, aren't you?
Where the second Friday of every month is when we're at the Aunt Stella Center. So it'll be week after next, and we're going to have a show from some folks that come from out of town. And last month we had Zoe and Cloyd. They're from the Asheville area, and this month we are having a different group, but I don't remember right now what they are. But it's on our webpage, folksociety.org.
Mm-hmm. And so, as vice president or as president of the society, how many members do you have, and do you have regular meetings where you conduct business?
Yeah, we've got about 250 members.
Oh, that's a lot.
And we have a board that meets every month, and we've also got our monthly meeting at the Aunt Stella Center is considered a meeting. We call it a gathering, and members come, and people come from the public, and sometimes they become members as well. And we have an annual gathering where we elect officers for the organization, and that's really the only business meeting that we have.
Now, 250 members, is there a requirement? Do they have to come to meetings? That's a lot of people.
Some people, you never see some people, because what they get our newsletter. We send out a monthly newsletter that's got a calendar of events throughout the state, and they join just to get that newsletter.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I would love to join, and I think in the second Friday, I keep that in mind so that I can come to your events and share the things that are going on.
That'd be great.
With the Folk Society.
Yeah.
Now, you have other folk societies. You're the Charlotte Folk Society. You have other groups. Do you have national, state meetings like many of the other organizations where you get together and you share throughout the state?
Well, Greensboro had the National Folk Festival the last few years. And the National Folk Festival is something that has been put on for probably 40 years or so. And they meet in one city each year, and they bring in acts from all around. They had some people from Africa. They had some people from Qatar, I believe, in the Mideast. And then they had some American blues singers. They had some Appalachian old-time players. And that's really a big festival, and it's a lot of fun. But that organization is independent from we're independent from other folk societies.
So each folk society is an independent organization, but you do come together throughout the state for some events. And is that the event that you come together for?
Well, the National Festival is an event that next year might not be in Greensboro. It might be in Florida, or it might be in California, but that's a really big festival, and we were lucky to have it in our state for 3 years. And there are other folk societies. Oklahoma City had one. I was a member of that when I was there. And I'm sure that Raleigh has similar organizations.
Okay, and how we met is we met at my office when you came to talk about funding for the Arts and Science Council, along with some of your other colleagues. Now, the other colleagues, are they members of the folk society? Are they just musicians and artists in their own right? The people that were with you.
Yeah, one other person with me is now a member of the folk society, and her family and her husband and daughter, they're very active now in performing in public. And the other folks that were with us were either students at one of the local arts magnet schools, or they were actually people that were with some of the other organizations like the ballet, the symphony, and these other arts organizations that promote the arts here in this county.
Well, thank you so much for being with us and for sharing your instruments and what the folk society is doing, as well as how important the arts is.
Absolutely.
And the things that y'all do in Charlotte.
Glad to help.